Scene session!
Ladies and gentlemen, don your Stetsons, polish your spurs and saddle up, because it's time for the Polis Box to ride again. Forget your universe, this is where the real excitement is tonight. Welcome to Series 2, where we'll be continuing our mission to establish the one true Doctor Who canon by putting stories on trial to decide whether they're guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Starting tonight with Series 24, Sylvester McCoy's first series as the Doctor. Now, the crux of the plot and the subject of tonight's episode, Time And The Rani, involves the aforementioned renegade Time Lord attempting to harness the energy of a strange matter asteroid by imprisoning a series of abducted geniuses and channeling their collective intelligence through a massive brain hidden away in a secret attic. Talking of which, I'm joined as ever by two men who are often reported to the police for inviting strangers up to their attic to have a look at a throbbing, pulsing, veiny organ. It's Cameron Phillips and David Cummings.
I was listening and wondering where the punchline was going to be.
Yeah. That was my thought going into work this morning in the car. I was like, I wonder what Lee's going to do for an introduction for this one for us both. Well, here's the answer. It's down to the veiny organs, isn't it? Always.
Always.
Start as we mean to go on, gents.
Exactly. Once again, this series we're throwing the doors into our virtual courtroom to welcome in another batch of special guests. And we're joined tonight by a man who's perhaps the hardest working man in Doctor Who podcasting, who's had anyone who's anyone in the world of Doctor Who fandom on his podcast, A Hamster with a Blunt Penknife, which recently featured an interview with none other than Doctor Who superfan, Newsnight contributor, and everyone's favourite racist barman, Toby Haydock. Lowering his standards dramatically tonight with his debut appearance on the Polis Box is the one and only Mr. Joe Ford.
Well, clearly I haven't had anyone who's anyone, because I haven't had you three on, have I?
No.
It's early days yet, chaps, early days.
There's still time for the bottom of that barrel to be scraped, Joe.
The busiest man in Doctor Who podcasters. I don't think that's true.
It seems like
Thank
it.
you very much.
I've seen your podcast feed. It puts us to shame.
There's 5 on the go, but I sort of stagger recordings. You know. In fact, my other half does 4, so there's 9 coming out of this house. Can you imagine the calendar?
That's a factory. That's a factory of Doctor Who podcasting, man.
I know, and it's all for bloody free as well. No one pays for any of it.
Yep. That's it.
It's a public service.
Yeah, that's true. Join Patreon though, we can make a few quid out of this.
Actually, I have, I'm not doing too badly.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay,
Share your secrets with us. Okay, we have got a lot to get through tonight. There are a lot of stuff. So, without any further ado, so we just get this party started.
Probably better, because that's the format.
That is indeed
we started
the
late
format.
for some reason.
So how do we start this thing? How do we call this thing to order?
Well, I'll tell you how we do this, Joe, because it's time to go back in time to 1987 and have a recursion excursion as we put the Time and the Rani on trial.
Leave the girl. It's the man I want.
Catch the lights up on the Ferris wheel. What I really want, I just can't buy. Here comes the 21st century. It's gonna be much better for a girl like me, 'cause I want everything
Time and The Rani was written by Pip and Jane Baker, directed by Andrew Morgan and produced by John Nathan Turner, with music by Kev McCulloch. It starred Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor, Bonnie Langford as Mel and Kate O'Mara as The Rani, with Mark Greenstreet as Icona, Donald Pickering as Baeus, Wanda Ventham as Faroon, Karen Clegg as Sarn, Richard Gauntlet as Urak and John Segal as Lanisha. It was broadcast between Monday the 7th of September and Monday the 28th of September 1987, and the viewing figures were 5.1 million for part 1, 4.2 million for part 2, 4.3 million for part 3 and 4.9 million for part 4. Those are the cold hard facts of the broadcast itself. How about we introduce a more historical context to tonight's subject?
Okay, are you waiting for permission?
Yeah, I'm going to do it anyway, whether we say it or not.
Whether you like it or not. Let's find out then what was happening when this story was originally broadcast in... On September the 1st, the British honour system, the Order of the Garter, is open to women for the first time. Sadly, the announcement leads to a security breach at Buckingham Palace later that same evening, when a confused and disappointed Fraser Hines is led from the premises by security staff after attempting to bunk into the opening ceremony. On September the 2nd, Johnny Marr officially leaves the Smiths, bringing about the end of the famous Manchester band. The end of the band proved no hindrance for frontman Morrissey, who went on to have a #1 hit with Never Gonna Give You Up later that month. On September the 5th, John McEnroe is fined $17,500 for ranting at the US Open, an event that leads to Ian Levine having second thoughts about embarking on a tennis career. On September the 8th, Anglia Television announces that its Anglia Night ident will be replaced with a computer-generated logo. The Anglia Night would go on to sue the broadcaster on grounds of unfair dismissal and discrimination against the disabled, insisting,
Just a flesh wound.
On September the 13th, The New Statesman is broadcast for the first time. The series centres around the character of Alan Beresford Bastard MP, a selfish, greedy, dishonest, lecherous, ultra-right-wing conservative backbencher. Just as well things have moved on since then, eh? And finally, on September 26th, long-running Saturday morning kids TV show Going Live is broadcast for the first time, presented by Philip Schofield, a man who, as it transpires, is no stranger to putting his fist up a gopher in a television studio. Allegedly.
You had to put in a clip of Ian Levine whilst we're talking about Time and the Rani, didn't you?
Yeah.
This was the point where he spontaneously combusted and disavowed all ties with Doctor Who.
Oh, God, if only he had. If only he had. So there you go, the Polis Box, as ever, an education in itself.
It's
All
beautiful,
of that true.
absolutely beautiful. Yeah, all credit to the judge for putting that one together.
I'm gonna say,
I like how you got Morrissey in there.
I might have wasted my time because I feel as if that series of clips of Time and the Rani you put together there, I rest my case. Isn't it fabulous?
Yeah, you can back it up, full of boast of your case,
Yeah,
Joe.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
If
You
you want to
doing
get...
this for the Blu-ray releases, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you want to get in touch with us tonight and give us your thoughts on Time and the Rani, this is how to do it. Just go to the YouTube, which I'm assuming you're doing because you're watching us at the moment, and just type in a comment in the chat box. We will put the comments up on screen as they come in. Right, viewer evidence times it's now known. We've got a lot to get through, so should we just crack on with that?
It's the format.
That is the format. Let's find out what our viewers think of Time and the Rani in...
This is the law, chapter 1.
We have had an absolute mountain of viewer evidence for Time and the Rani. I can only think it's the effect of having Joe here. I mean, if this happens all the time, you can come back every fortnight, mate.
There's a lot of camp bitches out there that love this sort of stuff, you know.
I think we've got one or two of them on the viewed evidence tonight, but it looks of
Pretty
it.
much, yeah.
We have 20 bits of viewer evidence. It's like 5 times more than what we normally get.
Can you do me a favour before you start? Could you please tell us how that's split into prosecution and defence?
It's more balanced than you would expect. So, you know, there's for and against.
Balance isn't what we want, though.
We want a landslide.
Let's go with the first bit of viewer evidence then. It is from Teenage Fan Club drummer Paul Quinn, who says, it's a great story that gets far too much hate. As Cy Hart said to Joe while commenting on Twin Dilemma, the mistake was to give McCoy amnesia as part of the post-regeneration shtick. He was hitting the ground running. There's still so much to enjoy here. Effects, location, is all indicating the show refinding its feet under Cartmel and a JNT who was stuck for another year but emerging from the steward fandom madness of the previous 2 or 3 years. Late greatness beckons, and this was an important step. So broadly positive.
Yes.
Paul Quinn's got a lot to answer for, you know. He's the person that introduced me to Doctor Who age 4.
Is he?
So, yeah, he's got a lot to answer for.
Did he introduce you to Doctor Who as a 4-year-old himself?
He was 6. He had the Doctor Who programme guide,
okay.
and he was reading out like loads of synopsis from the programme guide. But stuff like Underworld and Twin Dilemma and stuff like this. But when you're 4 years old, that just seems absolutely gripping. This could be why we're here today. He may have made Time and the Rani sound a lot more exciting than it actually is.
It's all the fault of Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, next up for the viewer evidence is the boys from the Complete Menagerie Almost podcast, and they say we thought that Time Monster was a tough brief.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Harsh, I feel.
I know Charlie, who was on the Mutants episode, is no fan of Sylvester McCoy, so I suspect he may have tweeted that himself.
I've got to say, there was scant detail in that tweet, though.
I know,
there was no kind of an argument.
we hate McCoy.
It wasn't even McCoy. It was, we don't like this.
Yeah.
That's all. It wasn't particularly about McCoy. It was the entire thing they don't like.
Yeah. Well, you know, balance. That's one for, one for against. So, next bit of your evidence is in response to the initial tweet we put out about this episode going out, where we asked if Time and the Rani would have its reputation cleared tonight. Richard Smith just simply said, no.
Again, short, brief, to the point, accurate.
Yep. I think we know that Richard is not sitting on the fence when it comes to Time and the Rani.
I'm not sure you could go with accuracy with a single word answer, you know.
Well,
I've noticed that the prosecution is scrimping a lot on detail here.
We'll see when the vote comes in at the end whether the no was accurate or not. I think it will be.
Okay, all right. Bold words for the prosecution. Next up is Fraser Gregory, who's sent us.
This is going to go on for a year and a half.
Strap yourselves in, boys, because here we go. Fraser says, there's a point in everyone's favourite wizarding book series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, where the kids have been carrying part of Voldemort's soul around their necks for months, and it poisons them. They become moodier, horrible to each other, snappy, and downright nasty. Then one night they smash the haunted necklace, kill the poisonous element, and immediately they all feel better. They laugh, cheer, and remember to have fun. Just like in Time and the Rani. Am I really comparing Eric Saver to Lord Voldemort? Yes. Yes, I am. Fraser goes on to say Saber's influence on who was Saber's influence on who was to bring it darker, grittier and downright nastier than it ever been before, until he fell out with the producer that he should never been paired with and left. In stepped Pep and Jane Baker, and boy what a difference they made. From Vervoids onwards, there's a lighter, breezier tone come Series 24 when they're officially writing for Cartmel, but are actually the old hands he needs to chip out a script that can fly without little input from him while he learns the ropes. They're the best placed to start the McCoy era. And they start it with style. Sylve comes into a script that's written with Colin in mind, but he puts his own stamp on it. He prats around with his malpropisms, and there's that dark undercurrent in there right from the start. Pippa and Jane do some terrific building with the Lycurtians. The Tetraps are a fascinating addition to the lore. And of course it's got Kate Bloody O'Mara being all shades of fabulous as both the Rani and the Rani playing Mel. Bonnie's as bonny as you can be, and props to Pip and Jane for once again remembering that the companions have a backstory and a use beyond exposition. Time and the Rani is as camp as a field of tents. It's bold, exciting, energetic and fun. It's a perfect launch of a new era. It's as far away from guilty as you can get.
I'm starting to think you should have got him on here instead of me.
We have tapped him up for next series. So that'll be the 5-hour long podcast.
I've written half a novel in the length it's taken you to read those tweets out. Thanks, Fraser.
Leave him. He's good. He's on our side. Good guy.
Oh,
I've always loved that Fraser.
He's a good man. He's a good man.
And he makes many stunning points. Lest we not forget, this is another defence full of substance.
True.
Shite.
That's an opinion.
And he's entitled to it. Next up, it's Cy Hart, who says, not guilty is bright, frothy fun. After the claustrophobic darkness of the Sabred era, suddenly the light is flooding in and Doctor Who regains a sense of fun. After years of soldiers and guns and nastiness, McCoy is great from the off, better than he gets credit for. And plus the set design, the special effects and production values seem to go up a huge step, so it looks amazing too. Another tick in the box for the defence there.
Another gentleman of distinction there.
Yes, and valour.
Indeed. In response to Cy, Jeff Quincy, who is not a MC as far as I know, says, I agree, I love what Eric brought to the show, but by God, when you watch Series 24, and even more so Series 25, they are unrecognisable tonally as the same show as Series 23, which I mean in a positive way, incidentally.
That's another one sitting on the fence.
I mean, I absolutely adore Trial of a Time Lord as well, so I don't know if I agree with the last part of that statement, but yeah, it's true. Tonally, they are completely different. Out goes sort of violence and nastiness, and in comes colour and fun.
And the occasional skeleton of somebody's daughter lying in a quarry.
Oh, I love that bit. Don't you love that bit? And they make a load of comedy jokes about it as well. It's hilarious.
No remorse whatsoever.
It's like Rob Shearman's writing the script.
Next up, Daniel Knight has been in touch with us to say, not guilty, it's fun and bright, the design is exceptionally good and Sylph hits the ground running. It was wonderful when I was 14 and it's wonderful now. Stacking up for the defence here.
And he's a very handsome man as well, Daniel Knight. I'll just add that too.
Okay.
I think all the best looking people have been defending this so far.
I think you're right, Cam. Look at you and me. Come on.
I wasn't going to say it, but,
We could be married by the end of this,
Looking forward to the honeymoon.
Does this mean I have to be Cilla Black in all this? I'm not sure I want to.
Yeah. You're not already?
Only on weekends.
You look marvellous in chiffon and you know it.
Next up, Charlie Francis has been in touch to say it feels like a hangover from 23, but I love it though. Sylvester had me at nah.
How strange to have two tweets that are completely opposing there. You've got one saying this is so different from 23 and another one saying there's a hangover from 23.
Yeah.
It shows you the diverse sort of opinions you get from Doctor Who fans.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, there's plenty so far. There's more to come. Daniel Ronsley is next, who tweeted us to say, not guilty, it's a mistrial throughout the case, etc. I remain thoroughly convinced that it's a fun, frothy and highly camp story that gets a bad rap, but it's actually an incredibly brave way to start a new series and a new Doctor of Doctor Who, especially with so much going against it. Another completely correct and handsome man, I'm sure.
Oh, incredibly. Oh.
What's brave about it though? That's an intriguing word he's chosen
That's
there.
literally what I just typed in my notes. What's brave about it? Question.
I mean, they've started a season of Doctor Who with a fun, colourful adventure, full of incident and danger. But that's what Doctor Who should be doing all the time. So I'm not sure sort of where the controversy is there and why it's brave, but everything else.
Okay, next up for a bit of viewer evidence, Darren Litroundles, who says, not guilty. It's the pure embodiment of John Nathan Turner's vision for the show. He just wants a sci-fi script that allows him to have a big name star with glitzy costumes and flashy visuals. It's broad and fun. And a very, very flattering picture of Kate O'Mara to illustrate his point.
That's an outtake when she's standing in that miserable rainy quarry thinking, fuck me, it weren't like this in Dynasty. Oh, sorry, am I allowed to swear on this thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, God, yeah, you're fine.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's only 2 people watching. We're going to offend very, very few here. So you're fine.
Well, hello to both of you. I hope you're having a good time.
You knock yourself out, Joe. We've had jokes about corpse raiding on this podcast before. That gives you some sort of indication of the level that we operate at.
Fair enough.
What is it? We get described as the dark heart of Doctor Who podcasting,
We
don't
do,
we,
yeah.
usually?
Why?
Dave,
Have you
that's
listened to
why.
us?
No,
It's lovely. What are you talking about?
been me for months. I told them right before I started to go live.
That's
You
true.
did,
We
to be
share, we
fair.
share the load.
Yeah.
Now I can see why you're on the prosecution.
I'm rabies.
Next up, we have Kevin Watson Hoy, another newbie. Hello, Kevin. Who says it blows away the cobwebs after a turgid few years. Far from perfect, but bright, fun, engaging, and never boring. Sylvester McCoy is brilliant from the start, with only a hint of how great he'll become in the role. Love it. Another tick in the box.
Yep, another tick in the box. And I think we can agree that Kevin is a chiseled Adonis of a man.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can only see him in a very tiny picture there, but
Yeah.
Send me his details.
He exudes that, doesn't he? Just the sense of it reeking off the man.
I love the fact that he reeled off all those things he loved about it, but started the sentence far from perfect.
Yeah. Far from perfect and hints of the greatness to come.
Exactly.
But it's not perfect and he's no good in the role yet. But apart from that, it's great.
Greatness to come. Have you fellas seen Silver Nemesis and Battlefield? Good God.
I like how he offers balance in the space of one sentence, so that takes some doing. That's good.
Yeah.
Talking of brief and to the point, it's Prog Slog next. He says, full crime.
That's it. We give up. That's the argument.
No.
Yep.
Few more to go. We're almost at the end of your evidence. Next up is Tower Hamlets. Now, I don't know if this view represents the opinions of the entire borough, but he says it's guilty of huge crimes. Cartmel wished he'd taken his name off it, and then finishes up by saying it's Morecambe and Wise in space.
How is that even an argument against? That's an argument for it.
That
That
sounds
sounds
brilliant.
good to me. I'd watch
watch
that.
Morecambe Wise in space.
Have you guys read that book, Script Doctor by Andrew Cartmel? Have you read that?
No.
Oh, it details in some wonderful passages Cartmel's issues with Pip and Jane Baker. And there's a wonderful bit where he describes, because Pip Baker's totally henpecked by Jane, and he phones him up and he goes, oh, hello, I've got some issues with the script. And Pip Baker's going, oh, okay, yeah, we'll talk about it. And then suddenly you can hear Jane Baker in the background going, who is it? Oh, it's Andrew Cartmel. Give me the phone. So she grabs the phone off him, obviously gives him a whack as well, and goes, we're not changing the script, and just puts the phone down on him. Oh, man, it sounds like it was a creative endeavour between all of them.
Get back to your shed, Pip.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. That
Don't
whole
come in until I
section,
tell you.
that whole section of his, but I mean, have you seen Andrew Cartmel at conventions peddling these books?
No.
Oh, he's terrible. He goes up to people and says, what's your name? He did this to my Ralph. He went, what's your name? He went, Mark. He went, right, I've written your name in the book now. You got to buy it. It's
Jesus.
absolute terror. Sorry.
Wow.
He's a man of shady operations, isn't he?
I don't know, but he sold a lot of books.
Because he forces people to. That's why.
Because he just imagine that in Waterstones. I've written your name on it now. You need to
All the other Doctor actors should get in on this, you know.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, they're all fucking writing books now, aren't they? Sophie Aldred, all of them.
don't give ideas to John Levine. Don't do that.
Jesus Christ, no. Please, let's not get on to John Levine, all right?
I'll tell you what we'll get on to, in a manner of speaking. Amy Boer is next, who says, I like it, it's camp and fun.
Oh, she's
Brilliant.
glorious, isn't she?
And also very, very handsome.
Very, very
Of
handsome.
course.
Continuing the
Of
theme
course.
of all people that write tonight.
Yep.
Next up, Rod Who.
Oh, Rod
Who
Who.
says, not guilty. It's a solid script with clear logic and character motivations, exquisite acting, Kate O'Mara, great visuals, the bubble trap, rocket ship, and it's unfettered from unnecessary continuity. There's a clear sense of freshness, which is perfect to herald a new Doctor.
Marvellous.
So another one.
Obviously hated
Broadly in favour.
Where are all these Time and the Rani detractors?
Well,
Well,
Maybe-
they couldn't
maybe
be
one's still
bothered,
coming.
could they?
Oh, great. Come on, bring it on. Bring it on. Ready for the
I think,
fight.
like most Doctor Who fans, they're currently sitting in front of iPlayer having a wank.
Yeah. That's what I'd be doing if I wasn't here. If I'm fair. Yeah.
it's what
Well, I
Sylvester
didn't
McCoy's doing
think
according to your title.
You know, I mean, you could almost feel the sort of the dampness of the collective load that blows when Tales from the TARDIS landed the other day, couldn't you? And people started watching them.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that was like a collective fangasm we'll never see the like of again. Sorry, please continue.
Yeah.
How many minutes until Perry gets out that water in Planet of Fire?
It never does on mine. Get up and out of the water.
My mum walked in when I was watching that once. You got Turlo in his pants throwing Perry on the bed in her bra. She goes, "What are you watching?"
Nothing. It's not on a loop.
No.
Obviously.
We should have known that Perry was in for basically 2 seasons of being lusted after and attempted rape and all of this that she got, shouldn't we? After that started.
The signs were there.
Tricky times.
It's just a touch. Next up is Oh God, no! I think that may be his Halloween name rather than just his general nom de plume. It says there's a lot of camp nonsense at the start and you're thinking, is the actual story going to start? Then the story starts and you wish you'd stuck with the camp nonsense.
Yes.
That's obviously somebody who doesn't like camp nonsense, though, and we'll just disregard those people.
Well, just
Why are you a
send them
Doctor
away.
Who fan if you don't like camp nonsense?
Exactly. Excuse me, about 80% of Doctor Who is camp nonsense. If you don't like it, you're in a bit of trouble watching this show.
I mean, come on. I am a man who has 2 podcasts. One is about Doctor Who and one is about professional wrestling. Hey, camp nonsense is my raison d'etre.
Nice. And if you watch that fight between sort of Cal and Zara in Unearthly Child, and there's a lot of men wrestling about with no clothes on, isn't it? Marvellous.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, come on. Doctor Who is camp. Anyone who says Doctor Who isn't camp is deluded.
Yeah. Has never watched Doctor Who.
No.
Well, yeah.
Even Genesis and the Daleks has got a giant fucking clam in it, for God's sake.
Next up, Emma Michael has sent us a bit of viewer evidence. He says it's enormous fun. Thanks God for Pip and Jane. Otherwise, Doctor Who would have been entirely unbearable between 1984 and 1987.
Oh, man.
I never thought I'd hear the sentence, thank God for Pip and Jane Baker.
But here we are. Miracles do happen.
Do you know Matt Michael?
No.
Oh, he's
haven't
obscene. Do
crossed
you know what?
paths.
He's 48 or something like that, and he still looks like he's 21. I thought he's guzzling down Toxmenia or something like that. Yeah, I know what he's doing. He runs a lot. So I thought I'd just add context with every tweet.
Right, he's just they're handsome and they run a lot. That's what we discovered tonight.
Yeah. And they guzzle down a lot of white fluid. Spectral female.
They might run a lot, but one day you'll catch them. You'll get tired. You'll slip up.
I've been trying, you know. Actually, by pure coincidence, he came on my podcast and did my Time in the Rani. And by the end of episode 1, we were basically fingering each other. So, I mean, I've already caught up with him and then some.
Wow.
Oh, that was fun.
I mean, we can't promise you that tonight, but you know, we'll try our best to accommodate.
I'm off then. See you later.
The penultimate bit of your evidence tonight is from Dave Rennie, who says not guilty. It's fun, camp, and brilliantly entertaining. Kate O'Mara is magnificent as a Doctor Who villainess. McCoy is fun in his first appearance. Wanda Ventham and Donald Pickering have pathos. The makeup and the effects are great. The music and how wonderful are the tetraps. Dave, it appears, is in favour.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let's round off your evidence with a double Dave. It's Dave Steele this time, who says, one of my all-time favourites that bursts with energy and innovation, brilliantly structured story. Sylvester hits the ground running with massive support from Bonnie and Kate, who both bring their A game.
Even I think that's a bold statement. One of my all-time favourites.
Yeah.
Like, this is a guilty pleasure for me, and there's lots of reasons I love it. But to put this up like top tier in the list, that is bold.
Yeah, I thought I had an unconventional Doctor Who favourite until I saw that tweet. So,
why? What's yours?
The War Machines.
Oh,
above everything else, the War Machines every time. Genesis is Alex, get in the bin.
Cameron's guilty pleasure is Fear Her. He loves that thing.
Is he being sarcastic?
Just a touch.
Yeah.
I love you, Chloe Webber. What's wrong with Fear Her?
We haven't got the time. Start with what's wrong.
Yeah,
with
sorry,
Fear Her.
we'll never get done at this rate, will we?
We'd start having an argument, and then we wouldn't get married by the end of this show.
Oh, don't worry, we're not going to have an argument. We're going to have a nice conversation.
It'd be a divorce before even the romance has even begun.
I know, it'd be a moonlight flit.
Usually the best kind.
Right, that's viewer evidence done and out of the way with. About half an hour in. Before we start the trial itself, just time to remind you that voting is now open for tonight's trial. So, based on the arguments put forward by Dave, Cameron and Joe tonight, you get to decide whether Time and the Rani is guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Go to our Twitter page at the Polis Box. You'll find the poll there. Vote away and we will reveal the results at the end of tonight's episode.
Quick, everyone get on their phones and message everybody they know to vote for them. Right, okay, let's go. I'm not.
There's one more bit of business. We've had a comment in while we've been doing all that. It is from Daniel Rosley, who is one of our viewer evidence contributors. He said, never be guilty about your pleasure. In brackets, looking good, gents.
Oh, see? He knows we're handsome as well.
You see? Handsome does.
Daniel, I should point out that Cameron is an optician and can give you a very, very favourable sort of insight into your eyes, because I think maybe you might need them just a little bit tested, mate. Just.
Aye. Calm down, Judge. Neutral.
Daniel, I agree with you entirely. When they all popped up on the screen, I thought my luck was in tonight.
And that's why we'll be asking you back every single series. Flattery will get you everywhere on this podcast. Right then, let's crack on with the trial itself. Cameron and Joe are going to be defending Time and the Rani. Dave is going to be prosecuting. Joe, as our guest tonight, we'll let you go first. Let's have the first point in the defence of Time and the Rani, please.
Kate O'Mara. I rest my case. No. She gives absolutely zero concessions to how crazy this story is. She gives zero fucks about how camp she's got to be. She completely owns the screen in every scene that she's in. She makes sure that I'm going to make a point later about how this is a massive panto and a celebration of panto. And she's our panto villain in this. So she's making sure that you're laughing at the right points, that you're hissing at the right points. Like, she's amazing. She's bold. She's camp. She's wearing colourful costumes. She's loving every second of what she's doing, and that's extending out to the audience. I think Kate O'Mara's Rani in this story is the Doctor Who villainess of the classic series. I think she's amazing. I cannot keep my eyes off her.
Indeed, as an agreement here, I've got one of my points would be tying the same. I've got Kate O'Mara. Good God, Kate O'Mara. A lot of actors of her ilk would consider something like Doctor Who completely below them, but not Kate. She's utterly along for the ride, and it shows in every second she's on screen.
Do you not remember? She was actually away, wasn't she, in America, doing that tatty old soap over there with the hair and the shoulder pads. And she messaged John Nathan Turner that I'm having far too much fun in these glamorous trailers. I want to go back to a damp old quarry in England. She couldn't wait to get back. And, let's be honest, this is a completely different character to who she played in Mark of the Rani, which is very strange given it's by the same writers. She's almost naturalistic in that story, whereas in this one, she's going for high camp and panto. But if you're there, if you like that subgenre of Doctor Who, then this is just the ultimate Doctor Who story for you. She's glorious. Come on, tell me I'm wrong.
No, I think largely you're right. I think that if this were made in one of the modern episodes, that would have been played by John Barrowman. It's exactly that kind of camp.
There's still time.
Oh, dear, I'm not anymore, I don't think.
And yes, she's a great actress, and she's completely wasted in this. Because as you say,
Wasted?
yes, she could have done so much more. The character of the Rani in this is utterly pointless. She gets to occasionally camp it up, occasionally be a bit mean, but that's about it. She spends half her time pretending to be Mel. And if you were thinking for 1,000 years, we need somebody to pretend to be Bonnie Langford. With her squeaky voice and her irritating habits, who will we get? You would never pick Kate O'Mara. It's such a waste of a stylish, sexy, sophisticated woman to say, you're going to be Bonnie Langford. Squeal for me.
But the fact that she manages to be stylish, sexy, and sophisticated, even in those scenes, shows the talent that she's got. Like, no, but wait, what do you want in this story? You want a villain in this story, yeah? You want a big, bold villain to start the Sylvester McCoy era. So this is somebody that's come to a planet and subjugated an entire species and is holding them to random with instant genocide. And then at the end of the story, she's creating a piece of equipment which is going to rewrite the entirety of time itself. So in terms of like villainous activity, this is the role.
Yeah, but you never get a sense of the villainness of it. She's a pure scientist who wants to do an experiment. That's it. Yes, she's subjugated all 7 of the local citizens, and she's brought all 7 of the Bat people with her.
I think you see at least 15. Thank you very much.
You never get a sense
the camera and going again.
of the pure villainy of her. Have you just said
She's
those
fucking
words?
loving it, isn't she? I have the Loy Hargill.
She's threatening to kill an entire species. She's keeping one guy in there imprisoned by saying that if he doesn't obey her, she will kill the entire species of his people.
Trapped in a moral nightmare as well, you know.
Exactly.
Betray my species or kill them all.
She's essentially wheeked a load of high intellect out of their timelines to become part of this whole project, again against their wills. There's a lot of villainy going on.
We don't actually know it's against their wills. I think a lot of people, if you say to Einstein, do you want to come with me and see how time works? And we'll show you and we'll change time, we'll control time. He might have volunteered for that shit.
I'm wondering,
I think
though,
it's the fact if
once the Tetrad faced him with his massive tongue coming out, he might have gone, no, it's all right, I'll stay. Thank you very much.
If you have to lock people in a cupboard in order to keep them there, I'd say it's very much against their will.
He says, not speaking
from
experience.
You know, it's not as if Albert Einstein's just kicking back in a chair somewhere in the background.
I'm saying more about your personal life, Cam, than anything else.
There's a reason he's got his camera pointing away from his wardrobe.
Yeah.
Shush. Stay quiet, Katie.
Stay quiet, Katie.
But you know, I think if people don't like Time and the Rani for whatever reason, they're very strange. The general consensus is that Kate O'Mara is giving her all in this and is very watchable. I think.
Yes, I'm not going to disagree with that. I just think it's a bit of a waste because she spends a lot of time saying, I don't care. I'm only interested in the science. Whereas if she actually had a bit of emotional drive behind it, and she had... One of my points is she has no big end master plan. Her idea, I'm just going to control time. That's it. It's not I'm going to control time to control the universe. It's like, I'm going to control time. I'll maybe bring back dinosaurs. I don't know. And that's
she basically has a wish list, just like the meddling monk did. Do you remember that wish list he had on the wall? She's like, yeah, go back, sort out the dinosaurs. Do you know what? I'm going to go back to that Luddite rebellion and give Colin Baker a whack in the face. Like, she's got plans.
Yeah, but we never get a sense of what her plans are for, what the end game is.
I think
I'm going to control time.
We should at least acknowledge that if she is going to go back and start pruning and rewriting time, that is a bad thing. That's probably enough for the climax of the story.
Maybe. I think it just isn't shown enough that there's a definite end point that she's got in mind. It's a generic control time thing.
It's a brilliant parallel, though, because we have the Doctor, who is a Time Lord, who is in control of time by virtue of his people and his upbringing, against the Rani, who is essentially trying to control time in an artificial way and gain it for herself and her own ends.
With that reading, you know, you've given Time and the Rani more smarts than Pip and Jane Baker ever did. Well done.
Yeah, I agree with the point of the defense. She is a great actress. I just think that the Rani as a character in this could have been better. Could have had more of a plan, more of a defined character.
But there is a plan, and there is an end game in that they want to control time for themselves. There is a process that the whole thing goes through.
I'll even go as far as to say there is a defined character as well. That was basically defined in Mark of the Rani, and we're doing a bit more of that here. You just had to pay attention there to see that she's this clinical scientist who all of a sudden just loves fabulous clothes and wants to rewrite the whole of history.
We all wake up in the morning thinking that occasionally, don't we?
Yeah. Every single morning.
Every morning as the alarm goes off. I want to wear fabulous clothes and control time for my own desires.
It's very rare, you know, that I spend an entire day without at least quoting one Rani line from Time and the Rani once. Today, I just said to my other half, I'm overwhelmed. You know, like, there's always something.
He normally does this to the Tesco delivery driver. It's very confusing for them.
Leave
the cauliflower, it's the carrots I want.
There is literally a line for every occasion, you know. Stop divering. You know,
Okay, well, in that case, we'll stop divering on that point. That was Dave's first point in the prosecution there. So, Cam, do you want to give us a point for the defence, please?
Oh, am I going? Oh, right, okay, fine. What have we got? Okay, a little bit of an interesting here. Time and the Rani is what happens when you elevate the Doctor Who in a quarry trope. Because the look of this story could so easily have been drab, but between the Centre of Leisure and the Rani's lab, there's a wonderful look to this whole thing. I mean, obviously, it's filmed in a quarry, and we know that, yeah? But whereas most other Doctor Who stories would have just kind of stuck there, and that would have been it, and they would have kind of had, honestly, it's Skaro. This one actually, between the superimposed entrance to the lab, the minefields outside with the tripwires, the Centre of Leisure, which looks like a nice place to hang, and the Rani's lab. There's a lot going on in story-wise quite a small space, and it looks absolutely great.
No expense has been spared either. They've even laced the inside of the ventilation shafts with tinsel from Christmas. I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
Oh yeah.
Can I just say for a second, because going alongside how good this story looks, I think it's incredibly well directed as well. People will probably fight me on that, but there's some really inventive camera work in here. There's some great POV shots from the Tetraps. You've got a director who's coming in and he's really trying to sort of push the boundaries visually of what you can do with Doctor Who. They ain't got a lot of money still, so it's never going to be absolutely spectacular, but he's doing his best. Next to that, you've got some brilliant sets. I think the laboratory set, which is on 2 levels, which goes up into the brain, all those weird triangles, is really interesting to look at. There's lots of interesting things that are done with the lighting, especially when they go into that brain set later on, and downstairs in the Tetrap lair, which is another really creepy set. Yeah. Like there's a lot of really interesting visual things happening in Time and the Rani, which I don't think it gets enough credit for.
It's quite dynamic, isn't it, the way it's put together? There's lots going on. Which wouldn't even been the case in the last couple of seasons before this. But it's very almost set and stagey in some ways. Yeah.
Wanted to put as one of my points just the bubble traps alone, which is a brilliant marriage of a visual effect and a physical effect, and the result of that is a fantastic cliffhanger at the end of episode 1.
Yep. Okay. Shockingly, I'll agree with that.
Funny that.
No, it's weird.
Dave, do you want to come back on this?
It is, as Cameron pointed out, yet another story set in a fucking quarry.
I never said fucking quarry. I would never, ever lower to that level.
Alright, it's yet another story set in a darned quarry. Which...
Fucking in a quarry is quite fun. Sorry.
Is that a point for the defence, or
yeah, absolutely,
just a general comment?
Go and do a tour of the Doctor Who quarries and have sex in all of them.
It's only a point for prosecution if there's witnesses. There's no witnesses.
You was there, don't deny it.
So yeah, it's another story in a quarry, and it's just it annoys me that it's set in a quarry yet again because it just washes half the colours out. You see this in a quarry, and then you see people coming in with their great costumes, but all that does is make them look like a coloured blob because there's no definition to it. The quarry sets are fine, but they're just always in a quarry, and the fact that all the quarry sets look the same gives you no sense of distance. You've got in a quarry, and then they're running away for 10 minutes, and they're in a different bit of the quarry, but they could just be in like 10 feet away. And you're right. Somebody mentioned the point of view shots, and those are really well done. This is the same year that Predator came out. Predator in the cinemas, similar point of view shots of like the alien bad guy looking from his point of view, and it shows the complete lack of budget the BBC gave to this show. Because obviously the ideas were there, some of the talent was there, but this just looks shoddy compared to everything that came out at the same time.
Yeah. In the cinema, but I'm not surprised. Predator probably had a budget of 50 million, whereas Doctor Who's got a budget of 50 pence.
Yes, you say that, but the CGI in the opening credits, this is the first time they'd used CGI in the credits.
Marvellous, isn't it?
They spent £20,000 on that.
Worth every penny.
A bargain.
Of 53 grand today. They could have spent that money on a set.
Some people would pay that money for sex in a quarry.
Yeah,
you've heard.
I think one as well. If you're going to use quarries for the prosecution, then you are pretty much putting Doctor Who as its entirety on trial, because there's a lot of them. And I do think as well, just to counter, there's a ton of colour in this story. This is one of the most colourful stories you're ever going to see.
Yes, there is.
But when they're in the quarry, there's a sequence between Faroon and good grief, Icona and Mel. And I remember watching it on the VHS, and I, back when I was younger and a little bit drunk, and the colours, my eyes were bleeding. There was so much colour coming out of my screen. Thank bloody God that quarry's there to sort of spread the balance a little bit.
It's a contrast. It's you've got your kind of quarry, your grey drabness, but it is interspersed with these fantastic clothing designs, and the pink bubbles, for crying out loud, flashing pink bubbles. You can't go wrong with flashing pink bubbles, I find.
Yeah, this is where
I quote me on that. I mean, the original idea in the script was for this to be set in a lush green forest, which would just have been sensory overload as far as colour goes. So maybe it's just as well that a quarry was eventually selected, probably for budgetary reasons. But it does get a contrast.
Wrote the script. I realise I'm on the defensive, but how they wrote the script, it would have worked better in a forest. I mean, they did amazing work with the quarry. Yeah. But I can sort of tell that they're not writing for that location, and they've done the best they can with what they've been handed.
Well, in an ideal world, sorry, Dave, carry on.
I was going to say the locals look like they should be running between trees. They look a bit like parrots.
Yeah, it's essentially if it had any kind of major money behind it, it would have been Avatar before James Cameron took over.
I know, but have you watched Avatar? It's so fucking boring. This is hilarious in comparison.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Avatar is so dry.
I'd rather watch this on 2.5 pence than that on.
Where's the 3D cinema re-release of Time and the Rani? That's what I want to know. Oh, can you imagine?
When this wasn't chosen for the BFI, I was desperate to watch this on the big screen when the Blu-ray came out, and I can't remember what they chose now, but it weren't this.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It'd be amazing.
Delta or something, probably. Yeah. Just think it could have been first the BFI, then the IMAX, then the World. It could have been so much more.
Justice for Time and the Rani.
Imagine that being in surround sound as Sylvester McCoy plays the spoons.
On Kate O'Mara's tits. That bit's incredible, isn't it? I can't believe
insane. Like, was that in the script?
I hope Pip and Joe Baker did write that bit.
What? So then goes, the Doctor plays spoons on the Rani's tits.
Actually, no, because they're very sexless, that pair. Because I don't know if any of you have heard the Terror the Vervoids commentary, and there's one point where someone goes, it's a bit worrying because the Vervoids are vaguely sexual. And Jane Baker suddenly goes, vaguely sexual? What are you talking about? And Pip goes, "Will you change the subject quick? I do not want to have that conversation with my wife." So I don't think they were at it at all. So probably that wasn't in the script.
Oh boy.
Oh, man.
So yeah, where did the choice come from? Was that McCoy deciding to play the spoons on her tits? Was that Kate O'Mara just seductively moving while he was practicing?
It's
Did he
definitely
decide
got
for rehearsals?
it's definitely got improvised bit of business and rehearsal all over it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty
think
sure
if
Pip
you-
and Jane haven't written that in.
If there's an opportunity to do such a thing, you'd probably take it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, so Sylvester McCoy, bless him, can go to his grave knowing that on one occasion in his life he played spoons on Kate O'Mara's chest.
The zenith of his career.
A life
Yes,
well lived.
exactly. Yep.
Oh, I'd be going for a
Yep.
full-on Phil Collins drum solo on them.
Well dressed as a gorilla.
Yeah.
Thing is, I've read her autobiography as well, and I don't think she would have minded that so much. Dave.
Awesome.
She was a bad girl.
Is she still alive now? Probably still would.
No,
No.
she's not.
You'd have to
No.
dig her up, and there are rules against that sort of thing.
But he probably still would.
You only get prosecuted if there's
How did
witnesses.
we get to necrophilia? Jesus Christ!
Because it's the
Welcome
Polish
to the
box,
Polish
Joe.
Box, the dark heart of Doctor Who podcasting.
I think I finally found my people.
Yep, you start with playing the spoons, next thing you're digging up a corpse.
Well, don't forget, he started this episode by talking about a giant phallus. He started us off.
He always starts me off with his giant phallus.
I'm not at all surprised.
While we're on the subject of spoons, we've had a few comments in while we've been doing that point. Daniel Ronsley has been back in touch to say, Time and the Rani is so good it gave spoons and spooning a whole new meaning.
It's
Of course it did. Of course it did.
Who's spooning in Time and the Rani then? Am I missing something?
Yeah, maybe it's an extended
Oh
sequences on
no,
the DVD.
because
I don't
those two tetraps come round Mel, don't they? And they both sort of come in at the same time
Yeah.
with their tongues out.
know, so to speak.
Do you know?
There's also all, there's
Sorry,
all
go on.
people in the centre of leisure as well, just lounging about, spooning each other. Probably a bit of forking going on as well.
What were they thinking with those enormous tongues coming out of their mouths? In the special effects workup, why did they think, yeah, we're going to have these amazing, because the head's amazing, right? With the 4 eyes, and it's a bat, and it looks terrific. That fucking massive tongue coming out of the mouth. It's obscene.
I mean, what other way to confront a screaming woman to try and stick your tongue down? I mean, it's like BBC in the 1980s all over again, isn't it?
And then the victims are stiff as a board, aren't they? Once they've been tongued. I mean, it's very strange.
Once again, like
so
the
many.
BBC.
This is the filthiest Doctor Who story of all time.
There's so many questions.
And it was being stiff as a board that got John Barrowman into trouble in the first place.
Hey,
Ah,
if you had that on your bingo card, score that off now.
you better watch out, Cam. He's one of the 2 people watching this, all right?
Well, evening, John.
I'll tell you who else is watching this. Our last guest on the Polish Box, Dylan Rees.
Hey.
He says that Time and the Rani is good, so good that it got the first Doctor Who action figure playset. But the Daypal ones that don't look anything like Sylvester McCoy or Bonnie Langford.
No, but I had the Mel one. You remember the pink
Yeah.
Mel figure? Yeah.
Aye.
She had so many, and I had the Tetrap as well. And they had so many adventures out in my garden. It was like the daisies of death and things like that. You know, they were going around the garden. So I'll add that as another point for the defence. The Time of the Rani action figures.
The Daisies of Death
Yes.
coming soon to Big Finish.
Say it 3 times and it'll happen. I think you've only got to say it once now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywhere near the car park and it's yours.
Dylan also goes on to say, is there any Doctor Who podcaster that Joe doesn't flirt with? If you'd like to take the stand, Mr. Ford, and defend yourself.
I have
It's getting a bit
nothing to
meta
say
now.
about that. Nothing at all. Do you know what? I visited his man cave once in London.
Yeah.
The things we got
All right.
up to in that room. My God. We recorded 3-episode commentary on Dragonfire, and that's all we did. You know, to be honest with you, that's a bit sort of dirtier than having sex, isn't it?
Yeah, you definitely have to shower afterwards then, don't you? It's like-
He had amazing things in there though. His Doctor Who collection. He had the entire collection of Mythmakers DVDs
yeah.
on a top shelf, and I said, "You are the saddest man in Doctor Who fandom. I swear to God."
You were also slightly jealous, though, weren't you?
Oh man, I placed the order that night. To be honest. No, They're all on Amazon Prime, Dylan. You didn't have to pay a penny.
Final comment we've got from now is future guest on the Christmas special is Andy Kent, who says, entertaining stuff, guys. Keep up the good work. That's nice.
Fantastic.
He's a nice man.
He looks very handsome, doesn't he?
I'll pass on you. Do you want to come on the Christmas special, Joe?
Oh, I'd love to. Is he going to be on it?
Oh, he's going to be there.
I'll be there.
He is now, whether he likes it or not. We're dragging him in.
As long as we can laugh this much, I'll be there.
Right, let's get back to the trial. And I think we're back with the prosecution now, I believe.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
Time and the Rani. That's what we're supposed to be talking about.
Okay, Dave, let's have the next point of the prosecution for Time and the Rani.
Is this the weakest and shittest introduction for a new Doctor ever?
Don't mince your words. Just say what you think.
The regeneration is basically a cheap screen wipe. You go, look, it's him now. That's it. He's the Doctor now. And that's it. And then he comes in and he's the Doctor. He's basically Frank Spencer for the first half.
Again, you're saying that like it's a bad thing.
But he's meant to be the Doctor, and you can see that, yeah, he's a bit silly, he's a bit of a clown. But in this, he's just a fucking idiot. Like, there's amnesia and there's a lobotomy. And he comes in like this, and he's pratfalling down the stairs, and he's playing the spoons, and he's using the wrong word, and he's like, I don't care if this Doctor dies. You're like, if they just regenerate at the end of episode 1, you're like, yeah, this is fine, because this guy's an arse. And it's just... The only equivalent I can think of is Matt Smith coming in and being an idiot with food. But even then, he's still the Doctor. He's just a bit strange, a bit alien. And this McCoy
Fucking
comes
annoying
in.
Matt Smith, isn't he? God,
Yeah. But in this, McCoy comes in and he's clowning and he's pratfalling, and you don't get any sense of the wisdom, the intelligence, the alienness. He's just an arse. And it's really annoying trying to care about him as the Doctor when he's just come in and the character he's portraying is just meh. And he's just a bit of a fanny that you don't care about. And so I just think it's a really weak opening for a new Doctor. You're meant to give them something big to get their teeth into. And all he gets his teeth into for the first couple of episodes is bits of the set as he chews the shit out of them. And that's it.
In order for this to be, as you say, the weakest regeneration ever, you would have to be considering this to be below Twin Dilemma. Is that the case?
Possibly.
And Deep Breath. Good grief. I mean, he just wanders around talking to tramps for half the episode,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
you get the sense of alienness from that.
Do you? I did.
A little bit.
Okay.
But there's nothing in McCoy that seems alien. He's just an idiot.
There's a moment in Deep Breath where he stinks of piss.
And he's sort of
To be
just
fair, there's none of that here.
screaming things out like avocados and things like that. I don't get the sense of the alien from that. Just a bit of slapstick. And we get a bit of slapstick here. You're absolutely right. In the
There's
first
endless
episode,
slapstick in
he's
this.
falling all over the set like an absolute numpty.
Okay.
But can I
Obviously,
oh, cool. Sorry.
carry on, Joe, carry on.
No, because one of my points was that Time and the Rani puts the hero back in Doctor Who after two seasons and a story of a violent thug playing the Doctor. I mean, he's my favourite Colin, so I'm not going to go too far with that point. McCoy comes in bumbling and clowning, as you say, and throughout the story, he pulls himself together, he pieces together the mystery, he confronts the villain, and he saves the entire universe. Now, that ain't bad going for your first 4 episodes.
Yes, by the end of episode 4, he is the Doctor. But the first 2 half-hour episodes, he just annoys me the whole time.
They're leaning into McCoy's comedy chops, and I think Pip and Jane are doing that because there's no script editor sort of steering the rudder. And McCoy's coming in and doing what he thinks he's going to do with the part, and ultimately it isn't what he's going to do with the part.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of forgiving, but I just find it very funny as well, and especially his scenes with Kate Amara. I think some of that's just comedy gold, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah,
I think we'd have to look at what
on slapstick. So I love the slapstick of it. I grew up watching Bottom, I like stupid comedy slapstick. Whereas his was just too obvious. He's too much of a clown.
Would you prefer it if he picked up like a drill then and started like, drilling in people's heads and knocking them round the heads with saucepans and things?
If she just smacked him in the nuts with a cricket bat 7 times in a row, I would have found that hilarious.
I mean, she did do that to the master in Mark of the Rani, didn't she? They probably thought, we ain't going to do the same trick twice.
But that's slapstick. You know it's coming. They're going to do it. She picks up the cricket bat. Here we go. But yeah, it's too obvious clowning. It's clowning for clowning's sake rather than as part of the scene. And that's what annoys me about it. Like, I think there's one of the first scenes where he's walking around and he basically flips over down the stairs like he's fallen over on an invisible hand grenade. And he just goes flying for no reason. And it's the for no reason that annoys me. Because as you've said, they've brought in him, letting him do his clowning thing, letting him do his act, seeing how he's going to do the Doctor. But that would never have worked as the Doctor because it's just too slapstick.
But I don't ever think that was supposed to be the template for the character. That it was always going to be he's mucking about for an episode or two, and then he pulls himself together. That's what they've been doing with the regeneration stories throughout the 80s.
Yes, and I just don't like the way this one starts so silly. It starts so far off to one side. And I get that might be so he can bring it back and still have silliness when he's become the Doctor. But I think it's just far too much of the slapstick comedy at the start.
But what have we had before this? We've had Colin Baker essentially assaulting his own companion. And before that, we had Peter Davison, who spends an entire story essentially being a bit of a confused old fella.
Yep.
This is surely much preferred to those two other options.
Not in my opinion.
Well, I think as well, like when he falls over, that you're right. That is absolutely ridiculous. I'm clumsy, and I'm not that clumsy that I fall over thin air and downstairs. But like he comes up and he's like, he figures out straight away what's on the computer. Strange matter. Da 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 da. Then he goes, "Oh, you're the Rani." So he's really incisive in that first scene. And then she gives him amnesia. That's the whole point. So yeah, he's acting completely out of character, completely stupidly, because the plot effectively sort of boxed him in that hole.
Yeah, but it's the fact that he starts so stupid and then she gives him amnesia. If she'd given him amnesia and then he was acting like a clown and then the amnesia drugs wore off, that I maybe would have got on board with more.
I mean, he's just undergone this sort of violent bodily regeneration, so he's probably a bit clumsy because of that.
But it wasn't a violent bodily regeneration. He was lying there and his face changed slightly. And that was
I'll have you know, Pip and Jane Baker wrote in their novelisation of Time and the Rani that he would undergo tumultuous buffeting in the TARDIS and fell off his exercise bike. Yeah. That sounds very dramatic.
I think we've all experienced tumultuous buffeting in a quarry before, have we not?
Look, we were trying to bring this back on track, all right?
We always return to the end. That's
we're always the dark heart of Doctor Who podcasting.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have a point for the defence, which kind of is leaning into what you're saying, Dave.
Yep. Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead. Use it if you want.
Essentially, the first couple of episodes of this story are a massive celebration of pantomime. And I know saying the word pantomime and Doctor Who brings Doctor Who fans out in hives. Like, how dare you not take this very serious show as seriously as it should be? But pantomime is a British institution. It is popular to this day. The theatres in Martown are packed out at Christmas with people. It's all colour, outrageousness, crazy costumes, comedy asides, role swapping. We get all of this in the first 2 episodes of Time and the Rani. And as a pantomime Doctor Who, and I don't think that's something the show shouldn't do, because this is a show that can do anything, apparently. I think it is absolute gold. I love pantomime. I like camp comedy. And so the first 2 episodes of this story, it's not the height of Doctor Who, but it is incredibly fun to watch.
Yeah, that is pantomime. And some of the pantomime bits of it are good. I won't argue with that at all. Yeah, there you go. I'll agree with the point, Spence.
Do you know what the most pantomime moment of the whole thing is? Is where she's talking to Urak And she's got this voice of like, Yurak, get the girl. And then the doctor comes in. He's like, you coming, Mel? She goes, oh, yes, doctor, I'm coming. Like, clearly she was just using that evil voice a second ago. Oh, man, it's so
From
funny.
Bonnie Langford to Gruff Navi in one easy step.
And what's astonishing is when, we've all endured Pip and Jane dialogue now for a couple of years. And it is eccentric, shall we say.
Just a touch.
I found myself in a web of mayhem and intrigue with you fellas, But, they are writing comedy lines in this, and they've got actors with the chops to deliver them. So there's a glorious bit where Sylvester McCoy goes, why was the Rani dressed like you, Mel? And she just goes from the side and says, oh, perhaps she's fashion conscious. I mean, some of this stuff is so funny. I think Pip and Jane writing comedy pantomime lines might be their strength rather than them writing serious Doctor Who.
Yeah. It's a good pantomime script. For the first 2 parts anyway. After that, I think it See, that's one of the points I also have. There's bits here of comedy and lightness. The only people who seem to be trying to act like actual proper BBC actors are the people from this planet. They're all going around being all soulful and going, but she'll kill our families, while a single tear runs down their cheek.
That's Wanda Ventum, darling. Of course she's doing method.
While McCoy's going around going, look, there's bones. They've got funny bones, haven't they? Playing springs on the bones.
It's like they were in entirely different productions, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
Hell, pick a card. Any card.
And my people are trapped in this leisure hive and they can't get out, and they've just given up themselves to the Rani and they're never fighting ever again. So anyway, it's like it's friendly way. It comes back and forth between these people being under threat of their entire civilization being murdered, all 7 of them, and then it goes to
15.
the comedy bits again, and it's back and forth, and it's not back and forth in a way that lightens the tension of the dark story. It's back and forth in a way that it doesn't feel like they're at all connected.
I almost wouldn't bother at all with the emotional stuff. That bit where she's going, oh, yet another victim. I'm like, can we get back to the camp comedy, please? This is all a bit serious.
You're intruding now. Come on.
What's so funny is they've got Wanda Ventum, right? Thea Ransom, gorgeous Thea Ransom from Imogen the Fendal, and Donald Pickering from the Faceless Ones in there, and then you got Mark Greenstreet playing Icona, who is just about the most beautiful man who's ever been on television, and they make them all dress up like that with that outrageous makeup on there. Apparently he didn't want to wear it. He's going, I look like I've got an illness, like I can't go on. But I admire the Shutsbar for them making them do it. Sorry?
By the time you get slightly distanced shots, they all look exactly the same. You can't tell which one it is till they start talking.
I don't think that's a particularly nice comment on their acting,
And they all kind of look a bit like Dawn French in costume. The whole time they just look like Dawn French. That's all I could see the whole time was Dawn French in costume, and I don't know why.
Again, you're saying that as a bad thing. She almost made it into Mysterious Planet as Dibber, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. Well, we've got another comment through. It's not from Dawn French, sadly. But I say sadly. It's from Daniel Rolsley again, which is a good thing. He says, Time and the Rani is so good. McCoy gave handsome Paul McGann amnesia in the TV movie.
It's true. It's true.
The man has many talents.
I love Daniel Rolsley. He's a smart bloke.
Is this not like the I'm trying to think of regenerations that have this much like comedic element to them, because I don't think we're going to get it. Obviously, Colin Baker's certainly isn't. The next one's, the TV movie where Sylvester McCoy gets shot in a gangland, drive-by, whatever it is.
No.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's not really designed for the lols, that. And then, obviously, we don't see Eccleston's.
I think they probably have a Tom Baker and Patrick Troughton. They're the only ones that's kind of clown about in the first stories.
Yeah.
Troughton's got the thing with the hats, and Tom's dressed up as a pedophile clown.
Gets naked in that shower, doesn't he? And has a bit of fun trying on hats, but it's
which is obviously
still taking it all very seriously.
We realise that canonically the Doctor has the third Doctor has a navy tattoo.
Yep.
So yeah, Yeah, I'm just trying to think of it. But I think maybe Tennant's the next one to have some sort of humour behind it.
He's another one that lies down for an hour, isn't he? And goes,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah,
see this
exactly.
one
Yeah, he
out.
doesn't do
I'll
a
come
lot.
along when all the hard work's done and be the hero. McCoy's
just,
putting in the work in Time and the Rani.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a while until you get the sort of this equivalent, you know.
He's got such an incisive brain as well. Do you remember when he's facing that enormous quarry and he goes, "Oh my God, a rock the tux." You know, like...
Yeah, and then the parrot bloke jumps up from behind it.
Can we comment on Joe's bravery there of being a Doctor Who podcast with 3 Scotsmen and doing a Scottish accent? I applaud.
Thank you.
The thing is, though, he's done it better than any of the 3 of us could.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Well, yeah.
I'm the new host of the Police Box. I'm sorry, guys.
Right, that's it. I'm resigning. He's taking my chair.
I would away, see
you guys.
I mean, by default, because the Scottish accent is so gorgeous, you do have the most gorgeous sounding podcast out there. Yeah, it's true.
Try.
It's true.
He's good, this guy, isn't he?
Regional accents are gorgeous. Listen to the way I talk. Can you believe anyone listens to this? Honestly. What were we saying?
I don't know. We derailed it now.
Yeah, just I can't remember where we're going.
We've got really good.
No, I remember. You were talking about the how jarring it is to go between emotional scenes and the camp comedy.
Yes.
I'll concede that point because it is a bit weird. It does feel like for a second we're in like a period drama with lizards, and then we're back into silly old Doctor Who. But you know, at least they're trying to inject. Because my one criticism of this would be there isn't a lot of character depth in this. But you know, it's a panto. There's not supposed to be. But they are trying to add some character in those scenes. And as good as those actors are, they're in a quarry in lizard costumes, trying to pretend that they've lost their daughter that just happens to be a perfectly formed skeleton laid across the rocks. It's a hard ask for any actor. Oh, hang on! I'm on the defence, aren't I?
He's doing an Al.
Yes,
he's
doing an Al. I've warned that boy Al against doing that again.
Sorry, I'll stop.
Okay, we've exceeded the hour mark, so how about we have a short break just now? We can go and recharge the glasses, come back and finish the trial and find out what the people ultimately think of Time and the Rani when we reveal the results. Sound good?
Yes. That sounds good.
Okay, we'll do that then. We will be back in just a few minutes' time. We will see you shortly. Okay, we're back for the second half of tonight's trial. Before we resume hostilities in the courtroom, we've had a couple of bits of viewer evidence come in while we've been broadcasting. Here's the first one. It's from Plutocrat, who says about Time and the Rani, I've never got on with it. There may be mitigating pleas available, but it's guilty, and not even a guilty pleasure. It's garish, frenzied, and even stupider than it knows it is.
Garish, frenzied, and even stupider than it knows it is. I mean, that's basically how I describe myself. So, I think that's an insult to Time and the Rani.
No.
No, absolutely not. Another bit we've had in that I've not had time to put together a wee fancy video for, so I'm just going to read it off my phone like a pleb. It's from Sadeko24, who says, I'd only say not guilty in the sense that by then the damage was already done by trash like Warriors of the Deep, and so Time and the Rani could hardly make much things worse.
Oh, damning against Warriors of the Deep.
Yeah, not if there's anything wrong with Warriors of the Deep. You've got the Murka for a start. What more do you need?
If you was fighting, if you was like in an army and you was fighting a war, and you was a general, would you ask all of your soldiers to stand in a big long line and come towards the people that are getting it? Because that's what happens in Warriors of the Deep. No wonder they all get fucking massacred in that.
You'll be fine, lads. The polystyrene ball will protect you. At arms.
Bizarre, isn't it?
Okay then, with that bit of your evidence out the way, shall we go back to the trial itself, wrap up any points we have left? Gam, I think you're next up. Do you want to give us another point for the defence of Time and the Rani, please?
Okay. There's a lot I'm looking down my list, and some of which we've already kind of touched on. But I think I'll go with it anyway. So I know this is going to be sounding like me repeating myself to anyone that knows me, but this is the first time I've ever had the chance to wax lyrical about Sylvester McCoy on this podcast, being as this is the first Sylvester McCoy we've ever done.
Yes.
His performance in Time and the Rani is pitched perfectly. After a soft-spoken, genteel nature of Davison and the blustering bombast of Colin Baker, it must have been really difficult for any actor to get this one right, but he does, not only by showing the vulnerability of his regeneration, but also the undercurrent of steel that runs through the Seventh Doctor. Essentially, it would have been so easy to fuck this one up, but I don't think he does at all.
I think Dave's got some things to say, you know.
Dave's holding back. He's champing at the bit.
Dave's not got his mic on.
Oh,
Dave's not got his mic on. Can't hear you.
I mean, this is playing into the defence's hand if you can't hear him.
Yes,
we can hear you now.
Well, I was going to talk for him then and say Sylvester McCoy is marvellous in this.
What I was saying was, where exactly in this does he show his fucking steel? Like in this
Rani, it's over! You're beaten! There you go.
There you go.
Whiny. It doesn't show his steel. He whines at her a bit.
He's
There's no
absolutely
steel in
appalled
there.
that
There's
Mrs.
standing up.
Malotrop's going to be erased from history. No, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a reference for the teenagers, by the way. Thanks, Pip and Jane. I had to Google her.
There's bits of panto in it, but there's no steel. He doesn't show his steel at any point. There's nothing where you think, yeah, he's made the right decision there. It was hard for him, but he's made the right decision. He stood up and taken a stand. No. He just fannies about and makes more jokes. There's no bits where he shows his steel in this story. I get that, yes, later on he'll show his steel. He'll just whip it out and show it to everyone. But in this, he doesn't.
There is one point, though, where you can absolutely see where they are defining Sylvester McCoy away from Colin Baker. And it's after that hilarious sequence where he's wrestling Mel about the set and, you know, they're doing pulse changes and he just looks at her and he goes, Mel, in such a cute way. You never would have had that from Colin Baker in a million years. Yeah. And they're trying to make him sort of softer, gentler, more approachable. I don't think that's a bad thing. People didn't react well to Colin Baker, you know, throttling his companion. So,
Colin Baker probably would have killed her. Snapped her arm. In a Kimura lock, never letting go.
I like the bit where you can see him, like, actually physically doing the math. He walks into that set and he goes, oh, that bit went to that bit, that bit's going to that bit, and that bit's going up there to the brain. I'm like, all right, come on now, Sylvester. You ain't got to quite show us how you're thinking in so much detail. But come the end of the story, he is absolutely the hero of the piece. He is full of charisma. He is confronting the Rani. He's a force for moral good. You know, he's the Doctor.
And there was that desire to put a bit more mystery into the character as well, which I think shows.
I'm not sure we're there yet, though. Do you think that's in this one?
Nah.
I think, for the purposes of this court case, Joe, it is.
Oh, well, then it's absolutely there. It's so subtle, it's barely perceptible, but it's there.
Well, it's suddenly, you have to kind of think about it afterwards and go, oh, yeah, but it's there, definitely. There's a hint, such a little sprinklings.
I mean, think about where... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, think about where we ended the twin dilemma with Perry going, you know, are you having another one of your fits? And him going, well, I'm the Doctor, whether you fucking like it or not. All right. At the end of this, you've got him going, I'll grow on you, Mel. And she's going, oh, you'll certainly get a lot of getting used to. And they're off to have adventures. We are on a much firmer path at the end of this with Sylvester McCoy's Doctor.
But one of the benefits of it taking so long for McCoy's Doctor to reveal himself in this is that Bonnie Langford gets a lot to do. Mel's got a lot of agency in this. She drives the story for the first couple of episodes. She's kind of up on her feet. She's taking on all sorts and getting to know the Curzons and so on. Whereas, you know, it's kind of like a stark contrast to Perry, who just stood there and whined and whimpered and probably hid in that tunnel for the first 2 episodes. Mel was up and at him. And that's a good thing, I think, for Bonnie Langford's character. I think Mel does really well out of this story.
it ain't much, but Pip and Jane Baker do remember that she's supposed to be a computer programmer from London, which is mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
And then she gets to defeat one of the Bangles of Death. I mean, talk about camp Bangles. With that bit of that, those weird lamps you had in the 80s that everyone thought was very hip. She actually does something which is remotely sort of technical for once, which is refreshing, because all the rest she does for the rest of this season is basically scream.
Yeah. That's what she does for 80% of this.
Oh, no,
she does a lot of screaming, but it is. Let's not forget, she is the final destruction of the extraterrestrial Asbo ankle lock. See, that's what gets them out of it.
That's great.
She's the one that wants to go to the base. She's the one that saving the Doctor. She's the one that has to try and get the Doctor out of the little cabinet that he's in. She does a lot in this.
Yeah. Do you know what's great about that scene where she's doing the anklet, where she's putting the wire in? It's like what Dave said earlier. It's tonally very jarring because it's absurd. They're all lizard people in this, it looks like a gay fucking sauna, and everyone looks ridiculous. And then the camera goes in tight, and it's like CSI bloody, bomb squad, and the music's going dun 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 dun, and she's there with the wires. I'm going, Andrew Morgan, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to inject a bit of drama into this, but don't bother. Oh, sorry, I'm the defence. I keep forgetting.
You are.
Sorry, Cam needs to get used to this, because next week we've got Al Milburn back on the show, and then this is his razor. This is what he does.
Is it Paradise Towers next week?
Paradise Towers in a fortnight's time, yeah.
Man, that'd be an easy win as well, I tell you.
The defence is quite confident already. Getting a bit cocky, I think.
Oh no! I mean, don't get me wrong. We're going to lose this, but what we've got to remember is I'm enjoying this and you're not, which means I'm winning at life and you're not.
Okay, are we done with that point then?
I think we're done. Essentially, yes. Sylvester McCoy is brilliant. That's it.
Right, in that case, shall we go one more time around with each of you, and then by that point we can close the vote and we can reveal the result. Happy? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that then. Dave, do you want to give us another point for the prosecution of Time and the Rani, please?
I'm trying to work out which one I want to go for.
Pick your ace card.
Oh, it's not even an ace card. It's just a small thing that people have mentioned. The killer insects. And the fact that the defense just started laughing as soon as I said that.
Killer insects. Didn't. They kill.
I'm taking this deadly seriously. What are you trying to say? I was laughing.
As opposed to the other sort of killer insects that don't kill. Yeah, so that line is so funny.
You're lying around in the leisure centre, because I'm going to start calling it that. They put in this.
It is a leisure centre.
Yeah,
it's all a nice gay sauna. Let's be honest.
It's all pastel colours and big comfy cushions and relaxation and rehypnol.
Sorry, it's a gay sauna in Amsterdam. The way you just described it. Go on.
Suddenly, somebody's put a black spiky ball in the ceiling. What's that? It's fine. We don't need to know about that.
That's very like a gay sauna in Amsterdam as well. It's like, sorry.
As soon as it opens, everyone goes, "Oh, it's killer insects!" How the fuck did they know they were killer insects? Are they like indigenous to the planet? Is that why we couldn't see them, because they've got such good natural camouflage? It's just a really weird scene because it makes no sense. As you've said, how do they instantly know it's killer insects? And they just go, they're killer insects. It's great that they tell us. Could they not just show somebody going like that on their neck and then dying? No, let's just shout it's killer insects. It saves time.
The fact that they know that they're killer instincts means they probably know what that ball's all about. So the fact that they all hang about in that room, lazing around indolently, is very strange. I wouldn't be hanging around, there was a bomb hanging over. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, I'll go and lie in that lounger over there. I'll be all right.
What's in that light bulb up there? Oh, it's just the COVID mosquitoes. They'll be fine. Yeah, but look at the way it glitters in the light. All right, then. It just seems such a... But it leads on to another really weird scene. At the end, the doctor goes, here's a cure for the killer insects. Here's a cure for the disease they've got. He goes, nah, fuck you. Pours out, goes, get off my planet. Like, how weirdly
He's such an
xenophobic.
arsehole, isn't he, Icona? What an
Yeah.
arsehole. If I was one of those incursions, I'd be going, oi!
I'd be over there licking it off the ground.
That's my future you've just poured away.
Yeah.
That's what happened when we cut away. I kind of went off in a huff, and they're all got sort of licking the floor. Like just
Who
seeing
died
them
and
licking
made
that
you-
blood up.
It's just weird that there's the killer insects that they all know are killer insects, and then they're given the cure and he just pours it out on the ground. Like he's just pouring one out for his homies. It makes no sense. And that's a point for the prosecution because it's just both of those scenes are quite jarring. Because normally in the Doctor, you'd expect to see these insects bite people and they die. Oh, they must be killer insects. Instead of somebody just shouting it out randomly as soon as it starts.
I think it might be dubbed as well.
Yeah. And then at the end, normally the local people are grateful for the Doctor's help and he goes away and everyone's happy. This is just now they're sharing a planet with bat people and killer insects.
Well, no, the bat people are going, aren't they? They're in the Rani's TARDIS. They're hightailing out. of that.
Yeah, they're away with the Rani.
Have they got all of them? Did anyone do a head count on the bat people?
No, Urac's like, I don't like him. He can stay on this miserable planet, but the rest of you can go.
You're a bat. You can either stay in the cave and get fed sludge, which you quite like,
Or you can
get
hang
into
Kate O'Mara upside down and watch her squirm.
or
I know
you
where
can
I'd
get
be.
into the TARDIS that she bought in Decathlon. You know, that's your choices.
What happened to that beautiful TARDIS she had in Mark of the Rani?
Exactly. What is going on with the TARDIS? Because it's supposed to blend in with its location. What the fuck is that? It's
Hey,
like,
come on, we've all
it looks nothing like anything else
It's
we've seen
the
in that planet.
entrance to a centre of leisure.
Well, and also it would blend
which-
in with the laboratory set because they're all triangles. If it was there, it would make perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the centre of leisure where Kate O'Mara can be hoisted up by her ankles. For no reason.
I will concede that it is very strange that they are all hanging around facing like the sword of Damocles, effectively. But the point of the scene, in terms of the plot, is to show that these people are in danger if Bayes doesn't do what he's told, or if the Doctor resists the Rani, and to also show that the Rani is a ruthless bitch that's willing to kill a load of these people, even though they are useful as a labour force. So like in terms of plot, it makes sense. In terms of logic, well, it's Pip and Jane Baker. You can't expect logic in this script.
But yeah, plot yes, execution no is the problem with it.
And do remember, we have been putting up with Eric Saward's script editing for the last, how many seasons? We haven't had logic in Doctor Who for a long time now.
It's been at least 5 years at this point of just...
A lot of murder, but
Stuff.
not very much logic.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's why they brought on Cartmel with his zero script experience, age 28, to run Doctor Who and write a script editing.
Are you not a fan of the era then?
No, it's not that. I just think it's a weird choice to bring on an untested 28-year-old to be script editor of Doctor Who. It's a very brave choice and a very strange choice.
Yeah, I'll
You'd
say that's
say yes if you
one
were
time
offered.
in this episode the word brave can be used. There was a very brave choice.
Yeah.
It's a mark of a show that's just not being cared for by the higher ups. So, because a decade earlier, they'd have been all over who was taking the position of script editor, producer. BBC at this point just don't care about it. So, yeah. You want a 28-year-old guy? Put him in charge of this turkey that we're going to put up against Coronation Street on Monday night. We don't care.
And yet, what was the result of that is he brought in more fresh writers than we've had in the last 5 years, a ton of creativity, imagination, drama, character work, and all of this. All right, so he cannot get a script to fit the time slot because every fucking Sylvester McCoy story has had about an episode cut out of it, and most of that's the explanation. So watching the special editions, they work a lot better.
Yeah.
But talk about renaissance of Doctor Who. It was a brave move, but it paid off.
Yeah, in spades. Definitely. 100%.
Until it got cancelled. Until then, it was brilliant. Yeah.
It was going well for a while.
Did you hear that wonderful interview with Michael Grade on the Blu-rays when Matthew Sweet talked to him?
Oh.
Not only did it, the best quote he had was, did you watch it? Do you think that was a useful... that was a useful thing to do with the taxpayers' money? Seriously. And then the funniest thing was, he goes, oh yeah, Sylvester McCoy came in for a year, didn't he? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and then we axed it then. And he went, no, it went on for 2 more years after that. He went, did it? He goes, oh, I wasn't even aware. I thought we cancelled it then. So they weren't looking at it in this direction at all.
Yeah.
No.
Insane.
Which is probably why they got away with being creative and all of that.
Yeah, until somebody noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glad they did, though. Glad they did.
Mm.
Okay, if we're done with that point, let's go to the final couple of points for the defence. Joe, do you want to give us another point for the defence of Time and the Rani, please?
Well, it's sort of like a summary. Is that all right?
That's fine. You may do summings up at the end, but if you want to go ahead and...
Oh, okay. Well, I'll leave that
Well,
one then.
Okay. Joe can do the summings up as far as we're concerned. 'Cause I think, to be honest, the 2 points that I've got left, we've kind of covered naturally anyway.
Okay. All right, then. In that case, if we just go straight to summings up, then.
It's up to Dave.
Dave,
Yeah, it's
do you
fine
have
by
anything else
me.
to chuck in? No? Okay, then.
I'll throw the rest of mine into my summing up.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let's do that then. We will go to summings up and we'll reveal the results after that. So, Dave, do you want to give us the summing up of the prosecution of Time and the Rani, please?
So this starts out with incredibly expensive CGI special effects at the open, which was a waste of fucking money that the show didn't have. It then goes into regeneration, which is lazy and shows nothing. It literally just goes, fuck it, new face. And that's it. That's the regeneration the Doctor gets. Yes, Kate O'Mara's a great actress, but we already knew that. She's given not enough to work with in this. She spends half the time pretending to be Bonnie Langford, which is definitely not in her wheelhouse. The story for this it comes in really late. You've got loads of running around, and eventually we get the story at the end, which is that the Rani wants to make a giant special brain to take over time. It just feels so much like it's just thrown together, it doesn't make sense. The special effects for this are, people have said they're great, I think they're really ropey. This came out the same year, and I've mentioned Predator, and yes, that's big budget movies. Star Trek Next Generation, serialized television, started the same year. You can say, yeah, but that's not the BBC's budget. The BBC did Star Cops the same year, which has got better special effects than this.
Did you not see those planetary studios they used for Star Trek The Next Generation, Series 1?
Yes.
And you're comparing that to this?
Yes.
It's literally a couple of rocks, some sand, and a coloured backdrop.
Yes.
At least they went out into a quarry. Sorry.
No, it's fine. The BBC also did Blackadder the Third this year. Again, some production values, some budget. Looks a lot better than this. Holds up a lot better than this. The script was edited by a 28-year-old who was basically being told what to do by JNT and Pip Baker. That was it. They told him what to do. He had fuck all to do with this. He did what he was told. So it's not new. It's the same people, slightly changed. As I say, the special effects are a bit ropey. The spinny mine, that's great. It's a great effect. But then it kills you and you're left as a skeleton. That's a really dark, sudden twist. It's not that you're trapped like Superman 2, trapped in the Kling film. All of a sudden, you spin around and then you just fucking die. That's really dark anyway. But for this story, it seems to be a bit far. You could just have this disappearance. No, you're going to die. The soundtrack for this is just weird plinky plonky keyboard. I've written somewhere that to do the sound for this, you could scrap a keytar to a gerbil and stick it in a blender. Because it's about the same.
You know, it's so terrible. It's about to have its own soundtrack release.
It's released on the 24th of November. You can
I've
buy it
never
on CD.
pre-ordered something so quickly in my entire life. Aside from that Jodie Whittaker TARDIS, and I'm not telling you why.
But who is actually spending money on the soundtrack for this? Like, no matter how much they remaster it and punch it up. Like, that is just a weird thing to buy, man. I'm sorry, that is weird. The costumes for the people that live on this planet look silly because they all look the same. And I say they look like Dawn French. The Bat people are great. They are superbly done, apart from, as you said, the weird erotic long tongues. The point of view shots are excellent, but they're excellent as an idea. The execution isn't that great. The main story, where the Rani wants to take over time by firing an asteroid at strange matter, fine. But why does the Rani, who is a Time Lord, need geniuses to tell her how to fire a rocket? Because I think she probably has some of that knowledge anyway.
She's having an off day.
She's a renegade Time Lord. She skipped school.
Yeah.
But no, because she was at university with the Doctor and the Master.
She
But she
skipped
hasn't got a
university.
brain in her head as big as that enormous brain, has she? Like that
The
brain's
big-
gonna think.
The big
more
pulsing
profoundly.
leathery brain with
Oh,
veininess
don't you
and
love it?
moistness.
That ended
Yeah.
up in. Did you hear that? That's got sold on auction recently. Someone bought that fucking brain, and it was completely falling apart and disgusting. And they got it in their living room. They took a picture like, "Don't you come at me saying buying the Time and the Rani soundtrack's weird." When someone's bought that brain. Sorry.
I was going to say, when did Dylan get it delivered to his house?
It's in his man cave, along with everything else.
But yes, so the sets are weird because it's just a quarry most of the time, yet again, which doesn't fit with the costumes they've designed. The story takes ages to get going, and then again doesn't make sense because why does a Time Lord need the help of scientists to fire a rocket? It really annoys me that they called it strange matter, because I know that strange matter is actually a thing in physics that they discovered. But using it in actual Doctor Who just seems really lazy. Like, just make up a word that sounds sciencey. Don't use the actual science term strange matter, because it just feels lazy. The Doctor is a clown, and I get he was hired to make it lighter rather than the dark, choky, mean Doctor that we used to have. But he's too light, it's too much of a clown. It's too much spoon playing and wrong words, and it doesn't make you care about the Doctor. There's no sense that the Doctor is still in there until quite late on in this story. So I think for all those reasons, the story, the characters, the special effects, the music, those are the things that make this guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. But apart from that, it's great.
Trouble is, that was a very earnest reading of Time and the Rani, a very serious one, and I don't think this story is attempting to be earnest or silly at all, and sort of lean into half the stuff that you're talking about there. I mean, I agree with a lot of your points, and I probably would say that no, hang on, go with me, Cam. I'll probably say that if I was the showrunner of Doctor Who in 1987, I would not put on Time and the Rani at the beginning of my new season, a massive pantomime that appears to be taking the mickey out of the show. I'd probably do something like Remembrance of the Daleks and say, look, we're current, we're modern, we've got great special effects and all of this. However, Time and the Rani does exist, and it was chosen. And I'd like to celebrate Pip and Jane Baker as well as part of my thing, because I think they are undervalued writers. Certainly they, abuse dictionaries with their tongue-twisty dialogue, but they are interested in making kids learn, and they are interested in kids. And Doctor Who hasn't thought about kids for about 5 or 6 years now. And suddenly that sort of core part of the audience is being considered. A lot of people that have come on my podcast, they started with McCoy because suddenly it's available for the kids again. And this is their era. Looking at this story as a whole, though, I think it's well structured. It introduces a mystery, which is what's behind the door. The Doctor pieces together all the elements across episode 1 and 2. So he's not just clowning around. He is working out what's going on. Which ultimately leads to one of the biggest threats to the universe we've ever had, the complete rewrite of time. As a structured story, it's it's competently done. Pip and Jane Baker are old writers. They know how to structure a story, even a Doctor Who one. I put here as well, they remember the kids, but whilst they're telling that well-structured story, they remember to add danger. So you've got the bubble traps and whatever you might think of them, the insects, which are dangers in the story. They remember to add great monsters, which is the Tetraps, and a fun alien race as well that just look wacky and weird. I don't think Doctor Who's been doing wacky and weird for some time, and there's a lot of, Jesus Christ, if someone walked into the room while you're watching Time and the Rani, you'd be going, oh, sorry, it's a bit strange, but Doctor Who should be weird. It's science fiction. It shouldn't be Remembrance of the Daleks every week. It's a bright, uncynical adventure. It's a massive step out of the dark. Doctor Who suddenly isn't taking itself too seriously again, and I mean that as a massive strength. It's been po-faced and violent for so long that, and let's be honest, when the dust settles on the classic series and you look around at the post-COVID Tory Britain, which is a fucking miserable place to be, it isn't, you don't want to watch a massacre like Case of Androsani or Genesis of the Daleks. You want to watch Kate O'Mara dressed up as Bonnie Langford in a huge wig, bobbing about a quarry, having the best time of her life. You want to have fun with Doctor Who, and this is fun. I think people take Doctor Who far too seriously. I think like there was an element of fandom that came from maybe sort of Pertwee into Tom Baker when the show was taking itself quite seriously. When it sort of explores the camper side of its nature, which is often there, and is certainly still there in the new series with people like Rusty Davies in charge, the fandom comes out in hives saying, my God, we've got this mad cancellation anxiety that if Doctor Who isn't taking itself seriously, that's it, the show's off. Well, guess what? If Rusty Davies makes the next series like Time and the Rani Redux, we've still got 2 seasons after that, folks, so just calm down, all right, and enjoy it. I described this story in my review when I wrote it ages ago like a 90-minute wank that is pure orgasm, because I think it is an absolute pleasure to watch this. It is colourful, it is funny, it is silly, it's all the best parts of human nature, frankly, distilled in a Doctor Who adventure for 4 episodes. I watched it this afternoon. I laughed myself silly. It's a miserable day today. It was raining, and by the end of it, I felt amazing and couldn't wait to come and talk to you chaps about it. I think it's brilliant fun, this, and the less serious parts of it, which are the things that people usually sort of rat it for, those are the things that should be celebrated the most. I rest my case.
That's the first summing up of a defence on the post box that's ever featured the phrase 90-minute wank. We're going to have to applaud your stamina as well, if that's the case.
Thank you. Thank you. I said it's like a 90-minute wank. I didn't say I'd had one.
Okay. Just to clarify.
Imagine a 90-minute wank that was all orgasm as well. Good God.
Imagine how dry you'd be at the end.
I know. Jesus.
But in front of Time and the Rani
you need the mop.
Gam, is there anything else you want to add to that? I mean, not the 90-minute wank stuff, the general summing up of the defence.
120 minutes. No, it's extra time and penalties.
You look like the sort of chap that could go for 120 minutes, you know.
Well, yeah. I'm not quite sure how to respond to that. But anyway, so
I meant watching an extra episode of Time and the Rani. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay, yes, indeed. So, no, essentially, I think the underlining fact that the defence want to push forward tonight is that this is Doctor Who being fun again. And essentially, if you have something against Time and the Rani, then you have something against Doctor Who being fun. I rest my case.
There you go.
Jesus, you said that so much more succinctly than I did.
Well, you did all the work, mate, to be fair. So, this I feel has been one of my more laid back and easy episodes.
But that was just so economic, the way you just summed up my entire rant in a sentence.
You know, there you go. That's it. We'll knock it down to 2 sentences. Oh
dear. I mean, look, I think we're probably going to lose this, but we gave it a stab, right?
We gave it a good stab, mate. If we're going down, we're going down fighting.
You talk about giving things a good stab, and I mean, the one thing that really stands out about Time and the Rani for me is the Doctor carries a knife. He truly is Scottish.
Yep.
Who's your favourite Scottish Doctor, the 3 of you? Is it David Tennant, Peter Capaldi, or Sylvester McCoy?
Probably Capaldi for me.
McCoy, Capaldi.
Yeah.
I mean, we've still got Shooty Gatwa to come, so that could change.
Yeah, well,
very soon.
Change.
So
Shooty Gatwa.
Edinburgh's own.
If you're talking about acting prowess, I mean, you can't really put McCoy in the same bracket as Peter Capaldi, can you?
No, just be really.
But this is like the 7 and 8 year old child in us talking, I think.
Yeah, this is.
He's a lot
Doctor, so, yeah.
He's the only one I've met.
What did Capaldi do in Series 8? He just sat around in the dark being a grumpy fuck, didn't he? Like, that was no fun at all.
The shut-in Doctor. I didn't know you met McCoy, Cam.
Yeah, I met with Carlisle Comic Con a couple of years ago.
Oh, right, of course. I know you've had the birthday card from. I know you've had the birthday card from David Tennant, but
I've got a birthday card from David Tennant. Yeah. Which was nice of him. Because that was because my mum pestered him. But poor fella. Just wanted to stay in a hotel.
What did your mum do to him?
My mum pestered David Tennant. Yeah.
And all she got was a bloody birthday card.
Yeah.
Post Love and Monsters, there are many mothers that wanted to do that, you know.
Yeah, well, it's he was staying at the hotel my dad managed in Dumfries. He was filming a movie called The Decoy Bride in Dumfries, and he stayed over for a couple of nights. And my mum went into the room before he arrived. She went into the room he was going to have and basically put a blank card on the desk and said, with a letter that just said, oh, my son's a big Doctor Who fan. It's his birthday in a week. He would really, really appreciate if you could sign this card. You don't have to if you don't want to, blah, blah, blah. Could fully appreciate if it's not a thing you would do. Great. He handed it into reception the next morning, fully signed. So I got that on my birthday. And within a week, there was a package turned up at the hotel for me, which is unusual because I was never there. And it was a framed picture and a signed photo of him.
What a great bloke.
Yeah, so I got a birthday present and a card from David Tennant.
Can I ask you as well, because you said that Sylvester McCoy was like your favourite Doctor or one that you really loved. Did you have that moment, when you meet the actor, where you just sort of fall apart?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I've had that a few times
absolutely. I said to him, you're the reason why I'm into this show about a crazy blue box, by the way. And he went, oh, my deepest apologies. It was just like... And then he proceeded to give me a technical explanation of how they got the Dalek to go up the stairs in remembrance.
Bless him. My other half's convinced Sylvester McCoy don't like him. Every time they have a picture together, honestly, it's the worst convention picture you've ever seen. McCoy's always looking at him like this. He's pretty. I don't know why. There you go.
We're all going to have that moment at Carlisle this year when Sophie Aldred's there, aren't we?
Yeah,
the three of us are just
totally.
going to dissolve.
I'm trying to get a signed picture of her so I can put it next to the Sylvester one.
Yeah.
I'm
forbidden to see Sophie Aldred anymore. I've been forbidden from seeing her. One, because I mostly say that her acting is terrible in every podcast that I'm on, but also because she really looks like my mum of a certain age. And I lost my mum a couple of years ago. When I walked in to have the picture with her, I'm like, Mum! No, I didn't say that. But it was like looking at my mum. I was like, oh my God. I went, can I hug you? And she sort of gave me a look like, yeah, all right.
Are you my mummy?
Yeah.
I'm both glad and sad you said that because it saved me from asking if your mum was single.
That's the second person you're digging up tonight. Oh, she was a right goer. You breathe in there, do you know? Sorry. No one tells me to stop. Why don't you tell me to stop?
It's all right. You're truly one of us now. You belong. You belong, my child. You belong.
Like a brother from another mother.
Pride March.
Exactly.
I'm coming here every year.
Right, before we go to the result, because I'm going to get us out of this conversation really quickly.
Yeah.
Before we go to the result, we've had one final comment. Surprisingly, it's from Daniel Rolsley again.
Hey!
He says, Time and the Rani is so good. Doctor Who fans never shut up about the Rani every single time there's a new casting announcement.
That is a good point.
So there you go. That's a testament to Kate O'Mara, I think.
I always say, just put her in just to shut them up, Yeah. Every time, a sort of mid-40s actress that's a little bit eccentric is cast, it's either Susan Romana or the Rani, right? And it never is.
Yeah.
One day, though. Who knows? One day.
Well, did you hear? Sorry, spoiler alert. Given we're live, that I know anyone can write on IMDb, but Carol Ann Ford has got one of those specials on her IMDb profile now. I know. Oh, she's a terrible actress as well.
I know, I was going to say, do you think that's a good thing?
Oh, she's awful. She had one line in Adventures with Space and Time. All she had to say was, "Here, your tea's ready." And she couldn't even get that right. She ain't acted for a while, though,
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Ford's thoughts on beloved character actress Carol Ann Ford.
Have any of you seen Shakedown Return of the Sontarans?
I've been trying to purposely avoid it.
Has anyone seen that where she plays the drunk vamp? That's why they shouldn't bring her back.
Something to watch after the show. Right, the vote is now closed on Time and the Rani, so if you want to get your vote and you've missed the vote, we are going to take another short break. When we come back, we will reveal the results of tonight's trial. We'll find out if Time and the Rani is guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. We will be back in just a couple of minutes with the result. And we're back. The vote has closed. The results are in. Shall we find out whether Time and the Rani is going to be kicked into the wilderness forever or become part of our official, unofficial canon of Doctor Who?
Let's go.
Yep.
Okay, the people have spoken. The result is... Just excuse me a moment, I'm just going to check if the moon's still in the sky.
What an audience you've got! Bravo!
I know Doctor Who fans do love camp nonsense.
80%, I'll tell you.
I expected that to be close, but I didn't expect it to be quite so one-sided. 71% to 29% have decided that Time and the Rani is not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Therefore, it goes into our official, unofficial canon of Doctor Who. It has been spared.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Defence, I'm assuming you're very, very pleased about this.
Absolutely delighted. In fact, this is the zenith of my podcasting experience now. That I've managed to salvage Time and the Rani from no longer existing.
Yep, I'll agree with that. It's a fantastic evening. It's a good start to the new series. We hope to go forward and build on this when we are away to Club Bruges next week.
I can actually. Do any of you guys listen to Toby Haydock's Happy Times and Places?
Yes.
But the only way that Time and the Rani can be any more enjoyable is when Toby had to tackle this story. And obviously he's a positively inclined Doctor Who podcast and he fucking hates this story to the high heaven. So listening to him talk for 2 hours, trying to find nice things to say about it, man, it was glorious.
Do you know what? If tonight's proved anything, it's proved that you can be on Newsnight, you can do all your documentaries, but you're still wrong about Time and the Rani, Holyoke. You're wrong.
Yep.
And anyone who says that Doctor Who can't go anywhere and do anything, let's not forget that Kate O'Mara, dressed up as Bonnie Langford in a quarry, has just been kept in existence.
Dave, how do you feel? That's your first defeat of the series. What do you think of the result?
It's not a surprise, because it is camp pantomime trash. And Doctor Who fans do like that. Especially when it's the change from Colin Baker beforehand. It is a breath of fresh air. Yeah. Whether it's any good or not is a question I thought I'd answered. Apparently I was in the wrong, but that's fine.
Do you know what? I think you make a really good point there, though, about whether something is good and whether something is enjoyable. Because that's a conversation I keep having on my podcast at the moment. And I say, you know, very often, objectively, this isn't very good. It's got terrible production. No, I'm talking about Time and the Rani now, but just whatever we're talking about. This hasn't got great production values. It's a bit over the top. It's got an illogical script. My God, it's so much fun to watch. And I do think we're in that sort of post-classic era now where if it's fun to watch The Horns of Nimon, then that's more important than whether it's a good piece of television.
Yeah. The
I have just unravelled my own defence then.
Fine,
you can do what you want now. It's gone. Too late.
And it's worth noting as well, you just said this is a load of trash. I think Doctor Who fans like it because they're mostly a load of trash as well. So it's a marriage made in heaven.
It's fine. You can say what you want. You can heel turn all you want now that the trial's over. We can reveal our true thoughts in the matter. So it's fine.
I still like it.
What, Time and the Rani?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
What on earth do you think I've spent the last 2 hours doing?
I was going to say, if you were about to turn around now and go, you know what, shite. I thought that's a really good acting turn.
That would be great, wouldn't it, if someone at the end of this defended something and then said, I actually really hate this, but I'm so pleased I won.
Do you know what has happened?
Has it?
Has happened.
What story was it?
Oh, it was one going back a while, wasn't it?
Because the way we do it is like I'm prosecuting this entire series. So if there's something here that I really enjoyed, I'd still prosecute.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that must be quite fun though, right?
It is. Yeah.
There's occasions when you have to kind of lie and basically say, "Oh yeah, this is absolute garbage." Like I had to prosecute Sea Devils. I was like, and I ended up. I started to watch it, and I was like, "There must be something in here that I can latch onto that means it's utter crap." And I got to about part 4 and went, "Nope, I'm really enjoying it. It's really good."
Yeah. But it can give you a new understanding of why you like it as well.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to find out what's bad about it, and all you see is the good in it. But
Yeah,
it's always nice as well.
Not to blow our own trumpet about our format, but it does challenge you to look at a certain episode in a different way. So
yeah,
that's why we enjoy doing it. That's why we're still doing this like 6 years after we started, 7 years, however long it's been.
I think it's
It would be quite fun to defend something you really don't like as well. Like if I had to try and defend Hellbent, I mean, or the Wedding of River Song, I would struggle a lot, but I'd find a way.
You don't like Hellbent?
Finding the way.
No, I don't. Good grief! That nonsense on Gallifrey down in the Matrix votes. No wonder they were all turning off in their droves. They're like, "What the fuck is this? What am I watching?" They're not we at home. We're going, "What is this? Is this drama?" Like.
So when we do series 9, we get Joe back to defend it, right?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Defend. Oh, okay. I'll do it. Anything.
Well, as a result of the trial tonight, Cameron, you're 1-0 up on the series so far with 3 trials to go. Next time, it's Paradise Towers. We're getting the band back together for that one. Geordie Al Milburn and Jim Cameron from the Crinoid podcast will be joining us for that.
Is it my podcast families collide? That was the tagline last time,
That's the
wasn't
one.
it?
Yeah, when worlds collide.
Oh boy.
That's going to be a week. It's a fortnight, less than a fortnight actually. It's going to be a week on Wednesday, so the 15th of November. We'll be back rather than our usual Thursday night for Paradise Towers. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
I'm going to write a Fraser Gregory style essay for you to read out on that one. I'm going to turn up on everyone now with just an enormous dissertation for you to read.
Next week's viewer evidence will be an hour long. It'll be his own podcast.
It's been a
start on the Tuesday.
You guys are an absolute hoot. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, well, thanks very much. We're glad you enjoyed yourself. We'll get you back. The minute Hellbent's back in that pot, you're coming back to us.
Yeah. Shudder.
You should never have said a thing, Joe.
Oh, no.
Never show your cards in the police box.
Yeah, never show. Yeah, because otherwise they'll try to rig it so you defend fear her.
Yep.
Is it all?
See, look at the faces. Look at the faces.
I would happily defend fear her. Happily.
Really?
Oh, for sure. That's Doctor Who as a procedural drama. It's been written as a police drama. I'm there for it. It's got a scribble monster. What more do you want, Cam?
I want something that looks like it's not been bolted. I want something that looks like it's not been bolted together in 10 minutes on the back of a fag
why have
packet.
you just spent 2 hours defending Time and the Rani then?
Because Time and the Rani is actually good, and I enjoyed watching it. Fear her just brings out the anger.
Okay, let's bring proceeding to close. We'll get everybody out the courtroom. Cam and Joe can have a fight about this in the car park afterwards. We'll reveal the results of that in the next episode. In the meantime, thanks very much for joining us for this first of the new series. Thank you, Joe, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, and I do mean this. Thank you, everybody that gave us viewer evidence tonight. It might have aged us by 5 years to get through it, but we do absolutely really appreciate having it.
Brilliant.
And it's good to have so many people. So, yeah. Thank you again. That's it for tonight. We will see you a week on Wednesday for Paradise Towers with Geordie Al Milburn and Jim Cameron. In the meantime, this has been a Police Box. This has been Time the Rani being found not guilty of crimes against who. We'll see you in less than a couple of weeks' time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, people.